Hello, welcome to the Healthy Alternatives podcast. I am Dr. Christine Sauer with DocChristine.com. Today's show is a recording of my radio show of the same name. Enjoy! Good afternoon, this is Dr. Christine Sauer, your host of the show Healthy Alternative, here on 97.5 CIOE FM with live stream on communityradio.ca every Thursday at 12 noon Atlantic Standard Time. Thanks for tuning in today. In this show, I will talk mostly with guests about all aspects of health, healthcare and wellness, from conventional to alternative and everything in between. My mission for this radio show is to help change people's lives for the better by informing them about different options to get and stay healthy and well so they can choose for themselves which option might work in their case. And if you feel you're stuck in a dark place, I want to tell you, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm asked very often to give some information about nutritional supplements, nutrient supplements, which ones are good to take and what the benefits or dangers are. So today is another part of our series of structured shows going deeper into health topics. Today, my fellow health coach Jennifer Gauguin and I will be talking about nutrients for mood support. Thanks for being back, Jennifer. I'm all excited to talk to you because you are knowledgeable on the food part and I know a little bit about the biochemistry.
That's right. That's right. I'd say it more than a little. You know more than a little.
Yeah, that's why I started to call myself the depression expert. It's my website. Okay, as always, I want to start with a word of caution. Although nutritional supplements usually are safe, there are exceptions. This show is meant as educational resource only, not as health advice for individuals. If you need individualized advice, have any serious health conditions or take prescription medications, please ask your physician's pharmacist or other licensed healthcare provider for advice. Always good to know.
For sure.
We don't want to get people worse, and it's possible.
Oh my gosh. No, that's not our intention at all, for sure.
Now, last time we talked, and it's a little bit, we talked about nutrients for the brain.
That's right.
And we are just going in the first half over the basics again, because, of course, mood and mood disorders, which are well known as depression or bipolar or just sadness, anxiety, even ADHD to a certain amount, and ADD and some parts of autism have aspects of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's interesting how much it all depends on the genes and the environment working together.
Definitely.
And depending on many, many factors, and we'll discuss them a little bit more in detail today, people need different things.
Oh, they do, for sure. And no two people are alike.
Exactly. And it is so fascinating when you deal with an individual and you really get down to it and do the right diagnostic tests, how much changes you can get when you add the right nutrients or remove the ones that are hurting.
Oh, exactly. Even simple dietary changes can make a big difference. Eliminating certain foods, adding foods in, supplements.
I really feel that, let's start with the basis. Everybody, if possible, should eat a whole food diet.
Exactly.
Now, what does it mean?
Whole foods, well, basically things that aren't processed. So like actual fruits and vegetables, not things that come out of boxes. I mean, some things are fine, but organic wherever possible. Meats, chicken, fruits,
if possible, pastured meats or grass-fed beef, as close to the natural environment of the animal as possible.
That's right.
To help our clients with their food selection, especially if they may not have the means to buy what's generally accepted as ideal.
Right.
I wrote this little book, Eating for Vibrant Health and Explosive Energy. It's now on Amazon.
It's got lots of good stuff in there.
Yeah, it is really, really helpful. And it shows you not only what's best, but also what would be acceptable if you can't get the best option or you can't afford it.
Yeah,
and
it's expensive to eat healthy.
It can be, yeah.
It can, for sure.
If you don't have the means to grow it in your garden or really go to a farmer's market every week and get the freshest organic stuff, and it is expensive, especially in Nova Scotia here where we are in the north, everything has to be transported. The oil price is getting crazy.
Exactly. So it's nuts. But
not
it's
easy.
so important. People don't realize how much of a difference diet makes to our mental health.
Yes, definitely.
Gut health, typically because diet obviously affects our gut health. And now what we're just realizing, or we've known it for quite a while because we've been studying it, but what's kind of coming out more now mainstream is that our gut health affects our mental health. Like our gut's our second brain.
And maybe people should realize that really all mental disorders have a physiological or bodily component.
Of course, yes.
And I won't say you don't need psychologists. Everything can be fixed with fixing the gut. That's just not true.
No.
You need them all. But that component often gets neglected.
That's right.
I don't know why. It may have political reasons. I won't go too deep in that. But it is very interesting when you look at it. Because, yes, you're right. Your gut is your second brain.
That's right.
And gut health is important. And when we eat conventional meat and the animals are raised with antibiotics,
it's all going through us.
The vegetables and fruits are sprayed with glyphosate, which is an antibiotic.
Exactly.
Which we are not told, but it is a very potent antibiotic.
That's
it
why
actually
it was
wasn't
created.
used. Yeah, it wasn't used as an antibiotic because it was too toxic for people. So I don't know why they said, let's put it in our food now.
Yeah, exactly.
Weird. So those two issues kill our gut bacteria regularly.
That's right.
If we don't substitute it.
Exactly.
So those are the reasons that most people don't eat 100% good diet, and many foods nowadays are nutrient deficient.
Definitely. Our soil is so deficient.
Yeah, the soil doesn't get replenished. It gets killed by the glyphosate. Right. The bacteria in the soil, the little nematodes get killed. And the plants are not able to take up the nutrients that we really need.
That's right.
It's a sad situation, and people don't address it. They just tell you, oh, eat this, it's good for you.
You know, I think what a lot of people who are local, a lot of what I hear, like the consensus seems to be that you hear these stories, social media and in the news, and it all seems to be, say, like coming out of California or Mexico, where a lot of like the produce is grown. So a lot of people don't think that it affects us here in Nova Scotia. Like they think when they buy local produce that there's no chemicals on it, or they don't use, as much pesticides, or they don't use Roundup or glyphosate.
No, we spray it everywhere.
Exactly.
And I had Michael Palmer on the show, and he told in 4 shows I had him on, and he was great telling us here in Nova Scotia how they use glyphosate and all over the North American world.
It's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy what they do. And the only way to change it is one person at a time, and that's where we come in. We'll try to do that by informing them, by helping the individuals, and it is so important, and that's why we recommend most people take some supplements.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's important to take the right supplements for your type.
So confusing.
The basics are
a good multivitamin.
And it's not the one that's popular on the shelves. I won't name a name. Extra magnesium.
That's right.
Many people need extra vitamin D, but vitamin D is fat soluble. You always have to have a test before you take more than 2,000 units a day.
Okay.
You don't want to take too much of it.
Probably something most people aren't aware of.
No, even the doctors.
So that would be just a regular blood test?
It would be just a regular blood test.
Okay.
And I am sad to say that some medical associations, I love them. I'm a doctor myself, conventionally trying to say, oh, it's not necessary.
Right.
I couldn't disagree more. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, omega-3 fatty acids. Most people do not get enough. There is people that eat the right kind of cold water fish.
Right.
And it can be tested in the blood too with the omega-3 level. Mm-hmm. Some naturopaths do it. I can facilitate it too.
Yeah.
And probiotics.
Of course.
Most people need it. And it's important you take the right one. And there are probiotics on the shelf that have a big, big package, bright advertising. And when you look at it, one strain is in it.
Exactly. No, you need millions of strains.
Yeah.
Billions.
Even if you have millions of one strain, you need different kinds of bacteria.
Exactly.
So your body can choose which one you need at this point.
That's right.
And a good probiotic should have at least 5 strains and 15 billion of bacteria per capsule.
Right, exactly.
And the capsule should ideally be acid resistant to pass through the stomach and then resistant to the duodenum to pass through where our bacteria are, which is the colon.
Right.
The large bowel, the end of the bowel. So it has to get all through that. And if they are resistant bacteria, sometimes people need spores.
Okay.
That's interesting too. There's a good supplement on the market with that. And I'm always fascinated that the fecal transplants work for many people. And it's a gross idea to get somebody else's gut bacteria, basically their poop, a little bit liquidified, reintroduced via an enema. Most people get grossed out by the idea.
Do they do that often?
They do that sometimes.
Do they?
And sometimes it has amazing results.
Okay.
So I personally don't know if I would opt at it, maybe as a last resort.
Yes, exactly. I don't think there's a lineup for that one.
No, I don't think so. At the moment, you have to go to some countries in Europe or China to get it done.
Right.
And there's other options. And there's targeted nutrient supplementation. Mm-hmm. And I feel if you have a mental health disorder, don't go just off your medications.
No, my goodness.
And try those vitamins. Instead, it will throw you back for years. And it can actually make it dangerous for your life. Mm-hmm. Because if you go off antidepressants, you may get so depressed that you get suicidal again.
Exactly.
And we don't want that. And if you're there, call 911 and get help.
For sure.
Don't just think, I take a multivitamin and I won't kill myself.
No.
That won't work.
No.
Seek
it's a
help.
complex process.
Yeah. And getting off psychopharmacological medications takes sometimes years, depending on how long you took them.
Yeah. It's not, something that's going to change in a couple of months.
So that's really an earnest warning. Don't just go off your medications.
That's right.
To try what I'm telling you in the second half. Mm-hmm. So this brings us to the end of the first half of today's broadcast on 97.5 CIOE-FM. Please tune in after the commercial break for more about nutrients for mood support and Jennifer Gauguin. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Healthy Alternatives here on 97.5 CIOE-FM on the web at communityradio.ca. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer, and today my fellow health coach, Jennifer Gauguin, and I are talking about nutrients for mood support. Thanks for coming and welcome back, Jennifer.
Thanks. So, always fun when I'm here.
Yeah, we have fun.
It's
the most important thing, and I really try to give back as much as I can because I went through it myself, healing my own depression. Mm-hmm. And no, I didn't just went off medication. As we said, it's not advisable to do that. But on the other hand, what is really needed to treat really any kind of mental disorder or any disorder that has any effects on your mood, anxiety, ADHD, whatever, is a good diagnostic before you start substituting to see what you need.
That's right. That's right.
For example, I always recommend or do an organic acid test,
Yes.
which really gives you, it's a simple urine test. So kids can do it easily.
We actually just did one. We're still waiting. It just got sent, so we're still waiting to get the results back.
And that will be
for
exciting.
my son. Yeah, exactly.
And I really feel that depending on the results, which can tell you details about the gut flora, without really doing a stool test, you can know a lot what's going on, an overgrowth of fungus like Candida albicans, you can see it, or Clostridia that can wreak havoc with your mood and aggression. That will show in the test.
Yeah.
Also, it shows if you have certain markers of the pyrrole family, which can lead to hyperactivity too, and can lead to depression and other mental illnesses, which is more or less a marker of oxidative stress overload.
Okay.
And we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
And those tests will also show if you're what your neurotransmitter status is, if you're really deficient in serotonin, or if it's something else that's missing, or if you have certain vitamins that can't be transformed to the active form by a defect in methylation. And it all shows up it gives you hints in the organic acid test. But to know what it means, you have to be an expert on it.
Exactly.
You really have to have it studied for a while. So not everybody can just go to the lab and do an organic acid test and knows what it means.
That's right. You'll get it back and you won't be able to
know what it means.
Exactly.
It's just a lot of chemicals and you see, oops, what does it mean?
That's right. That's why we need you.
Yeah, thanks. I studied it actually with Dr. Kurt Waller, who helps with the interpretations if needed. So he's a great guy. And also I recommend a test for toxins because some mental illnesses are really toxic metal overload.
That's right.
Especially copper. Copper is very common in people that eat an unhealthy diet. They may not have enough zinc to balance the copper.
I was just going to ask what the connection, because you see, like when you're looking at supplements in a health food store, you see zinc and copper linked. So what's the connection there? Can you explain
thing is,
that?
you need either zinc or copper.
Okay.
One of the two, you are usually deficient. So there's people that need extra copper. Those are two metals, and they need to be in balance in the body. And the body actually has a limit in metabolizing them.
Okay.
And when there's a copper overload, it can lead to excessive oxidative stress.
Okay.
So oxidative stress is a major factor when it's too much to brain function.
So can you explain a little bit about what oxidative stress actually is or what it does?
I'll be happy because the body every day produces what's called free radicals.
Right.
That's a chemical form, reactive oxygen species.
Okay.
That's what makes, for example, iron rust. And we need those free radicals to kill bacteria, beginning cancer cells.
Okay.
Or, for example, any type of inflammation has free radicals.
Okay.
And one type of inflammation is a good type of inflammation. It's not all bad. When you cut yourself, you see the wound getting red.
Right.
That's inflammation.
Right. And that's the healing.
That's a healing kind because it gets rid of the bacteria usually.
Okay.
And then after the wound is healed, the inflammation stops.
Right.
That's a normal process.
Okay.
But if you have toxicity or nutrient deficiencies or some genetic abnormalities that get maybe made worse by all that, the body can't stop.
Right.
Or it produces extra free radicals.
Okay.
It's the same when you take iron pills if you don't need them and you push your iron too high.
Right.
Iron is a potent pro-oxidant. It makes it worse. So you have to be really careful what you take. You can't just take everything.
No, that's right.
And yes, B vitamins are generally good for the brain, but...
Which ones?
And
the right amount.
It depends on your biochemistry.
Right.
If you, for example, have methylation abnormality. And methylation is a process by which the body basically detoxifies and changes molecules to a form either that it can get out with the liver and kidney or that it can use, for example, in the brain.
Okay.
For example, if you have regular folic acid, which is in most cheap supplements, and you are okay, the body can change it into the active form, which is what we know as 5-MTHF, 5-methyl hydrofolate.
Okay.
That's what the brain needs. If you have a certain problem genetically with your methylation, and you maybe have some nutrient deficiencies and toxicities, that won't work.
Okay, so that's why they're saying now in medical studies in prenatal vitamins that some women don't necessarily need the folic acid?
Well, the problem is the folic acid can actually backfire.
Okay.
If you take high doses of the synthetic folic acid instead of the active form, and you have those genetic differences, it can actually prevent the active form that you need from being absorbed from your nutrients and from your food you eat. So it can make matters worse.
So it's doing more harm than good. Okay.
Exactly. So it's important that prenatal women have their folate, but not the synthetic folic acid.
So it's the good stuff versus the bad stuff.
Exactly. That prevents neural tube defects. It's well known. So there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of biochemistry behind it. And don't let anybody talk you into taking a supplement that has no idea what they do.
That's right. And just because it works for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
No, it can do the opposite for you.
Right.
And there's also people that have a B6 deficiency, which is a pyridoxine. That's a chemical name. And you can see it on the label. It says pyridoxine phosphate. Interestingly, you need the 5 form, the methylated form from that too. And it is really fascinating. And that all can lead to amino acid imbalances. Now, amino acids are products, breakdown products of protein.
Right. That's
and they influence your mood. And if you can't break down them to the right amino acid, you may have the imbalances. And the organic test finds that too.
Exactly.
And the toxicity, you can do a blood test for some, you can do a urine test for some, and you can do a hair mineral test for some too, depending on where you go. And some naturopaths are quite knowledgeable about it.
Yes, for sure.
Of course we are. But it is really, really so important that you don't just go and say, oh, I'm so tired, I just take this.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I need this one, or this one might help.
And then you get frustrated because you spend money, and
you
it doesn't
see
work.
The results.
Exactly.
Right.
As I always say, nutrients have to be in an orchestra.
Exactly.
They have to work together in a symphony that sounds good when you listen to it, or that makes you feel good when you have them all in you in the right proportions.
That's right.
If you just take one, it's like listening just to the drummer.
It's no fun.
That's maybe, but maybe that's not what you want to listen to. Maybe you're more into Mozart.
Yeah, exactly.
It really depends. Or maybe you want to listen to country music and not just So that's the same. If you just take one nutrient,
right,
it won't work. And even two together, if they're not the right form, it might not work.
So basically, people need to do an organic acid test so they know for sure what they're lacking.
They should seek somebody that's knowledgeable.
Right.
In the interplay of psychology and physiology. And there's people that know their way around it. And there's really people that can help with targeted supplementation and targeted nutrient therapy. It's also called orthomolecular medicine sometimes.
Right.
And I'm a member of the orthomolecular medicine, and it's very, very interesting what you can do.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot about that lately.
And it is so neglected, I find.
Oh, yeah. Most people don't know. I don't know a lot about it, but I do see it come up quite a bit in a lot of the webinars and different things I take part in. So,
and it's kind of sad that conventional medicine just uses a drug approach.
Exactly.
Because sometimes the right nutrients, if it's not a very severe case,
right,
can have the same effect with less side effects.
Exactly.
And it would be nice if the healthcare system at some point starts paying for those additional options, but I don't think we'll see that in our lifetime.
No, it doesn't seem to be.
We are still
going
young.
That way.
But what we do in our show, and we both say that everybody has to take their health in their hand.
That's right. You're your own best advocate.
We lead our own lives. We are individuals, not just a number somewhere that needs some numbered thing. We need individualized medicine, and the trend is thankfully going to that.
Thankfully.
It's
starting, yep, for sure.
And this brings me to the end of today's show. Thank Jennifer for having fun with me. And for the listeners, please don't hesitate to contact us with any questions, comments, or suggestions. My email here is christine@communityradio.ca, or contact me through our website, docchristine.com. And I'm always grateful for feedback. I also want to extend a special thank you to today's producer, Jim Francis, and his nice assistant, Hannah. Thank you all for listening to Healthy Alternatives. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Sauer. Tune in next Thursday at noon on 97.5 CIOE FM Community Radio with live stream on communityradio.ca for the next episode. Goodbye and have a great day.